thank you for taking the time to speak with me. How are you, first of all?
I'm good. Just ready for the show tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's getting close now.
Yep.
And you have your new album, Rise, which just came out. How's the response been? Do you feel like anything was overlooked at all?
I mean, it's been great so far. It's still really early on, but people really seem to enjoy it. I mean, of course, whenever a band, tries something different and branches out a little bit, they're going to catch a little bit of flack. But I think a lot of that has already passed pretty quickly, and people are really welcoming our new sound.
Well, I like that. I heard, people always say, like, if you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong. So I think that's the positive way to look at it.
Yeah.
So back in 2011, when you guys had the tour with Under Oath Thursday and Animals as Leaders, that was said by you guys to be like a pretty ideal tour. What do you think? Would it have changed now? Like, what would your ideal tour be now?
I mean, it's really cool to see like bands that were like our like idol bands, like back when we were younger, like come back, like Story of the Year and The Used and stuff. So like a tour with those two bands would be like amazing. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, like when I found out the Story of the Year was doing the whole 10-year anniversary for Page Avenue, I was like, how cool would that be if we got to do Thursday's 10-year and Story of the Years, but it was like, when I first heard about it was when it was already even like announced and everything, so I didn't even know that tour was happening. But I mean, like, to be able to tour with like those bands that like influenced us so greatly and what, pushed us all to really do like what we want to do. I mean, like touring like with Thursday and Under Oath, like, those are two of the first bands that even got me singing. So like that was just wild. So definitely more bands like that, like the bands that, made us who we are.
Maybe their 20-year tour.
Maybe.
I was reading an interview from way back in 2010. You guys were talking about the importance that MySpace had at the time on launching the band. So, several years later and all the technology changes and MySpace sort of left and now it's kind of coming back. What do you think are some of the most important pieces of technology that are helping keep bands relevant that you do think they need to stick to?
I mean, Facebook, it doesn't seem like it's like the one that everybody jumps to at first, but I still think it's the top one.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like it's not the one that everybody talks about, but it's still the one that everybody uses. But it's not cool to say you use it anymore, but everybody still uses it, and it's still, like the main platform for us. I mean, like there's like Twitter and Instagram, but they don't come close to what we have on Facebook. But yeah, like social networking, just like as a whole. I mean, even sites like Spotify and Amazon and stuff, like all are playing such pivotal roles, and of course iTunes. But as for like social networking, I'd say those top three, like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, of course, are like solid ones that help every band.
And they're all really different. Do you think that there's any, like a missing space for something that, like you think would really help? Like what MySpace was back in the day, like combining all those elements. What do you think would be the ideal for?
Well, I mean, that'd be awesome if they could somehow, combine everything. But I think that's what makes all the different social networking sites the way they are, because Facebook does combine all of them. But it's almost like, it's like too much information. It's just like, like when you make a post, you don't want to post a paragraph. You just want to post what you're talking about because nobody wants to read a paragraph.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's why people like Instagram. It's short and sweet. They see what they want to see. You can add a like description. I'd say about a third of the people actually read the description. They just look at the picture and then they keep going.
Yeah.
But then there's people who want to hear what people have to say, but they don't want to see all the other, BS. So they look at Twitter. But Facebook is like, I feel like everybody still uses it because it's like the hub of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like you can find everything there if you want to sift through all the extra stuff, if you want to see all of the pictures, if you want to see all of the posts, everything in one spot, go to Facebook. But I feel like, for that quick fix, I think that's why those other sites are, so, important.
That's a good way to put it, a quick fix. That is exactly what it is. So a few years ago, when discussing Identity on Fire, the band mentioned that they thought they really found their sound on that album. Which every album, I feel like every new album that a band makes, it's always the best, and that's how it should be. But years later, with this new release, do you think that still rings true? Or do you think you have sort of adjusted your sound and it's essential to keep evolving?
Well, I mean, like definitely, taking that kind of pride in your music, I'd hope that every album we would say, this is our best one.
Yeah.
Most people would laugh at that because well, you said that about your last album, and it's like, well, so we were happy with it.
Yeah, it's good.
But at the same time, I can say that, the last one, some things did turn out not the way that we had planned out. But this one literally, we spent so much time on it, and we got to do exactly what we wanted to do. We had so much time to write it. We didn't tour for 9 months, whereas the other albums, we'd have a month to write it, a month to record it. The date that it was already coming out was set before we even went into the studio, so we knew what our deadline was.
Yeah.
With Rise, we pretty much put our foot down, and we were we want to make the album that we want to make, no time limit. We're gonna make you, the album that we think everybody wants to hear, and the album that we want to hear, but we need time. So
That's really good, though.
yeah, so there wasn't even a set, release date until we actually went into the studio, because once we entered, of course, it's not yeah, you guys are gonna record with me as long as you want. It's no, there is an end date. But it's not we were thrown into the studio prior to being ready, which that happened with every other album. We were thrown into the studio with half the album written or something, and 4 songs I had written with vocals. I was writing them in the studio, where Rise, everything but maybe 2 songs was written, already.
Yeah, that's the way that makes more sense to me. It allows a lot more creative freedom that way.
Yeah, and then also once we actually get into the studio, sure, some changes, some minor things did change to the songs that were already done, but for the most part they didn't. We were really, really happy with all of the songs, and it made it really easy to be really creative on those other 2 songs that we didn't finish, because it was all right, everything else is already written, so we have all this time to make these other 2 songs really great too.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a few fan questions before we close it up. So we had user Joey Tigers wanted to know if you planned on bringing back that sound from Wires and the concept of breathing on future albums. I'm sure you get asked that all the time.
Yeah. Actually, they asked me that in the interview that I just did for Substream Magazine. And my whole answer to that is that I feel just like you said, if you're pleasing everybody, you're probably doing something wrong. Or if you try to please everybody, you're just doing something wrong. I feel even if we did recreate an album, the people who say they want it, as soon as they get it, would be disappointed that they got it, because those same people would probably say, why would you recreate an album? You have, that's just a waste of time, I thought that you guys were, musicians, I thought that you wanted to, experiment and broaden your horizons. So it's it's a double-edged sword, no matter what you do. As soon as you get fans and people who like something, or who like you for something, they're going to hate you for something else you do. But all that we can do is, be, the only, A Skylit Drive that we know how to be. We didn't come into this album saying we're not going to do this, or saying that we are going to do this. Whatever came out is what came out. We just started writing songs, and then we realized the direction that it was going in. And we didn't say, oh, we got to stop. We need to do something else because we're doing something wrong. And we were just no, this is clearly what we're supposed to be writing. It's coming out fluently, this is it, so here it is.
That's when it's working.
Yeah.
It becomes less of an effort. And they wanted to also know if you had any plans to hop on the 2014 Warped Tour, even though it's way in the future.
They do start solidifying the bands. I think it's near the end of the year. We hope that we'll be able to be on it. The last time we were on it was in 2011. And with our new album, it'd be amazing to do it, for a 3rd time. But it's all up in the air, I'm sure every single band is, nipping at Kevin Lyman's heels. Which, we're one of them. So, we just hope that, we get, one more chance to, play that tour, because it's that special.
Yeah. That's right here. And then just one more question for me is, what is one question that you'd like to be asked but never have been, and what is the answer?
That is tough. Jimmy, help me.
Oh wow, no, I didn't really listen. I'm sorry.
The question is, what question have I never been asked that I want to be asked? And
What's the answer?
yeah, what's the answer?
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
feel like you've been asked so many questions.
I know. I don't know what I'd want to be asked. I mean, I love when I go to Starbucks and they say, "What would you like?"
What's your favorite Starbucks beverage?
I would like a grande ice soy 2-pump sugar-free vanilla latte, light ice. That's my
the
favorite
one.
question, and that's my favorite
question.
answer.
And then is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, but now that you guys know my drink order, if you ever want to bring me one, that'd be awesome. Or just a Starbucks gift card, whichever. I'm not picky. Not picky.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.